By now, I'm pretty sure all of the actual Duel Links channels have discussed this, but a couple days ago, the full set list for the 14th main box, which is called Gaia Genesis, it got leaked, and that's pretty exciting. We had a lot of the cards leaked before, I think like a third of the set, and a lot of the really good cards were already leaked from that first batch of leaks, but this is the full set, and I think that it has some interesting implications. Now, I do want to mention this is not the Synchro Summoning set. Duel Links is getting synchro summoning. They just posted like a timeline sort of on the actual Duel Links app, and it looks like late September, early October is when we're going to get that kind of stuff. But this is like probably the last set before that. I'm not really sure. I guess there'll be like a mini box. I don't know if they'll put synchros in the mini box or not. But this set's pretty exciting. There's a lot of really crazy cards in it. I'm going to talk about a lot of the cards that I think are good, but the main thing that I want to focus on is the impact of Mermails on the Duel Links metagame. Now, it's interesting because Fur Hires and Amazoness decks that were never good in the TCG were able to be good in Duel Links because of the lowered card pool and the lowered life points. And what's interesting about that is that Mermails were already really good in the TCG, and they are really good against lower life points, and yet they're getting added to Duel Links, and they don't have all their cards. We're going to talk about that as well. They don't have all the Atlantean cards, but one Mermail Abyss Megalo actually just has the potential to just kill your opponent. It does 4,800 as long as you contribute a water monster, so that's pretty crazy. This is allegedly coming out on the 27th, by the way. So the big thing here is Mermail Abyss Megalo. I'll open this up. If you don't know what this card does, basically you can discard 2 waters, special summon it, and then you get to search one of the Mermail equip spell, or I guess Abyss spell or trap cards. They don't have Sphere in this. They just, I mean, the best one is like the Scale equip spell, which is pretty good. It gives bonus attack points and stuff. It negates stuff. But mainly this card's important because it summons itself and it discards the Atlantean cards, and then also you contribute an attack position water monster to have it attack twice. Now, like I mentioned, in Duel Links is only 4,000 life points, which means 2 successful direct attacks from Megalo will actually just kill your opponent right there. And that might sound difficult, but it ends up not being difficult because some of the cards that they're adding to this, which I was a little surprised by, is they are, let me try to find them. Where even are they? Oh, I think maybe they're super rares. Let's see. They have, yeah, Atlantean Marksman and Atlantean Heavy Infantry. Now, I do want to mention that when this set was first leaked, all we had leaked was Marksman. I thought that's how they were going to balance Megalo, is that they were only going to give us Marksman so that the deck couldn't deal with face-up cards. But they're giving us Heavy Infantry as well, which means that if you discard like 1 Marksman, 1 Heavy Infantry, you can not only take out your opponent's only monster, but also take out their back row and then hopefully just OTK them. That's pretty crazy, especially for Duel Links. If we think of, now I wasn't playing when Sylvans were out, but part of the reasons that Sylvans were so good is because they had Sylvan Marshleaf and Koma Shrumo to just blow up your opponent's back row and monsters. This is kind of the same thing, but less RNG based, because you can just discard the cards exactly what you want out of your hand. And then also, they have some of the better Mermails. They have Pike, they have Gund, they have Turge, they even have Lead, which might actually come into play. Mostly because while these combos do seem pretty crazy, I'm not going to say they're not crazy. One of the things that I think I can notice as a TCG player analyzing these Duel Links cards is that they don't have Dragoons. Heavy Infantry and Marksmen are good, don't get me wrong, but they don't have Dragoons, and Dragoons matters a lot because that's the main way that you search what you need. If you don't have Megalo, you can grab Megalo. If you don't have the Atlanteans, you can grab the Atlanteans. What that means is that, in my opinion, I think Mermails are going to be very powerful. I think it'd be almost impossible for them not to be really powerful. Not only do you have the OTKs with Megalo, but you can actually just put a lot of damage on board using Gund and Lead, and Pike really does increase the consistency of this strategy. However, you have no way to search Megalo. I mean, there's no way to add this card to your hand that I know of. You can use Draw Sense Water, but then you have to take damage, and that's not really that good. Also, you might not even get Megalo off of that. So I think it's a pretty big deal that you can't search Megalo. I think what is going to end up happening is that people have to play like the 1 copy of Lead, and you might actually see Lead special summon because it's not as impactful as Megalo, but because it discards, let's see, you have to discard 3 water monsters, and it doesn't have the double attacking effect, but it certainly is a big monster, and it will trigger your Atlantean effects. So I think we're going to see sort of this weird Mermail Atlantean deck in Duel Links that won't really look like it did in the TCG because it doesn't have Dragoons, and they'll probably have to max out on Heavy Infantry and Marksman just to push through back row, but man, it just seems really inconsistent compared to Fur Hires. And now I wasn't around for Sylvans, like I said, but this seems even less consistent than that. I mean, it's certainly when you have the combo pieces in your hand, it's not RNG based because you know what you're discarding. But in terms of actual hard consistency, it seems kind of rough. And I think that's kind of interesting if they make this OTK deck that's not very consistent. I might end up being wrong. It might be consistent enough for Duel Links. I think I should mention one of the things that I found really curious when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro the last stream when we built Sound Magician spellbooks is that I was finding that even though there's better spellbook cards in the TCG, like Spellbook of Knowledge, like Grand Spellbook Tower, and even cards like Pot of Duel and Upstart Goblin, I actually found the deck less consistent in the TCG because even though you have all these bonus cards, at the end of the day, you're still just trying to open either Blue Boy or Secrets, and you only have 6 copies of those, so obviously you're going to draw them more in a 20-card deck versus a 40-card deck. And what I'm trying to say there is that even though we don't have Dragoons, which would obviously be just overpowered in here, there's only 20-card decks in this, and I think, I'm not sure if they have, I should have looked up if they had Moray of Greed. If they have Moray of Greed and I'm just stupid, then definitely like that'll make a pretty big difference here. I don't know if there's a way on this website to look up that. I don't know. But if they have Moray of Greed, that'll make a pretty big difference. I'll probably have to edit that in. Actually, I'm just going to look that up 1 second. Okay, I am glad that I looked it up because it turns out Duel Links does have Moray of Greed. It's from an older mini box, and I think that is still available, so you can get that. Because it's from a mini box, it must not be too difficult to pull. Let's see if it's a super rare, or is it just a normal... What even... I don't see it in here. Oh, it's, yeah, okay, so it's a super rare. So that shouldn't be too hard to get, and I'm glad I looked that up, because that basically means that in Duel Links, the version of Mermails that I think would see play would almost certainly just be all monster cards, like 17 monster cards, and then 3 Moray of Greed. Maybe it'll just be like 15 monster cards, because they'll probably play Econ. Maybe they play the Equip spell to grab the Megalo, maybe they don't. I think in a 20-card deck, it might be kind of risky to play a card like that. They also have Abyss Squall, which isn't really that good in Duel Links, I wouldn't imagine. The main benefit of Abyss Squall was that it actually let you make a bunch of Exceed summons. The other stuff in the set isn't super impressive, like the UA cards aren't that good. I think Drowning Mirror Force is pretty interesting. I think Swap Frog is interesting in concept, mainly because it lays out that Konami can then add some more frogs to the game, but right now the only other good frog is Treeborn Frog. Galaxy Cyclone's super hyped. I think that card will be played a lot. But another downside of Mermails, I think, is that they don't really have anything to do going first in this game. You don't really have any of the combos that make them really good or that made them really good in the TCG, whether or not you're talking about when they first came out and they had all the Dragoons, they set up like Abyss Sphere to actually summon Lyn, then kind of stall out. They don't have any of those cards, and then if you think of like the modern version of Mermails, they obviously don't have any of the like Neptibus and stuff. They don't have Instant Fusion and all these crazy cards to trigger Dragoons over and over again. So I think the biggest downside of Mermails is that any game you go first, you're pretty much just summoning Pike and passing. There's no reason to waste your hand discarding infantries and marksmans to actually not blow up any cards. Like, just summoning Megalo isn't really good. I think that's what makes this deck interesting, is that, at least from what I can see, I mean, maybe you can play some defensive cards, maybe you can play Drowning Mirror Force, maybe you can play a Wall of Disruption, but that's going to be, the mirror match at least seems like it really heavily comes down to opening, or losing the die, or losing the coin flip, I guess, which is kind of crazy. But I think Mermails are going to be impactful. I think it's clearly like the best deck out of this pack. I've been going back and forth. When I first had it revealed, I was like, this is going to break the game, this is better than Fur Hires, but Fur Hires had a really good opening turn, and Mermails, at least in the decks that I've sort of theory crafted with this new box, it doesn't seem like they have a lot of good first turn things. Don't get me wrong, I think they'll win almost every single time going second, and maybe that's enough of a reason to play the deck. If you win every time you go second, and then you win like half the time that you go first, that's a pretty darn good win rate. That's like a 75% win rate. Obviously there's some counters to this. I will just mention briefly, what is Spellbooks going to look like after this set comes out? I'm not really sure. It really does depend on the popularity of Mermails. Interestingly enough, it actually does do pretty well if your opponent Megalos, discarding infantry and marksmen. You can just activate the Fate to banish the Megalo. It does not do well if your opponent summons Pike and discards marksmen. In that case, you're pretty much just going to lose, because you're going to have to Fate, and then they're just going to Megalo you, and you're going to just lose because you're going to get OTK'd. So I don't know how good Spellbooks are looking. I don't know how long it'll take people to actually put together Mermails. I will once again be trying to do a King of Games run. I don't know if I'll do it with spellbooks. I don't know if I'll do it with Mermails. I might try to do it with Mermails and see how it goes, but this is a main box, so it's going to take people a lot of money or time to actually put together a full Mermail deck, kind of like the Destiny Hero deck right now in the metagame. It's pretty expensive considering it's like a tier 3 deck. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion video on Duel Links. I don't really plan on talking about a ton of Duel Links news. I mean, I did talk about the ban list, but I felt this was big enough and interesting enough, and also I thought it'd be a good discussion to have not only for the Duel Links players to prepare them for what's about to happen, but also for the TCG players to kind of see what's going to happen in Duel Links. Maybe that'll get you interested in playing the game. I do want to quickly mention, sorry, one quick thing, just for the Duel Links players that have never played with any of these cards, Swap Frog does not trigger the Atlanteans. I feel like I can already see now when I'm playing on ladder for the first couple days, I guarantee people will try to summon Swap Frog, discard Atlanteans, and then get confused why I don't trigger, but that is not trigger. It's a summoning condition, not an effect, so just so you guys know, Swap Frog does not trigger the Atlanteans. Probably should have said that at the beginning. Anyway though, I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.